Good afternoon, everybody. I think in the interest of time, we'll get started. Looks like it's right at 4:30, and that was our advertised start time. We may have a few more college community members join us, and if so, that would be great. First of all, I'd like to welcome all of you on behalf of the President's Office and the Board of Administration to College of the Sequoias. And I'd like to thank you for giving us a little bit of your time today. We hope that this forum will be informational and productive for you, and hopefully reassuring as well. This is a difficult situation for all of us, but we feel very confident about the plans we have in place and the information we're going to be sharing today. I recognize a number of you as faculty or staff from different areas throughout the college, and so I appreciate that you're here because I know that many of you are also getting very similar information through a number of different channels. So this is just one more opportunity for us to try to open the doors and share information and help keep our community informed. There were two handouts as you came in, and they're duplicates. One is a small quarter panel sized card, and the other is our 8.5 by 11 points of fact that we want to be sharing about College of the Sequoias and the status update on the current accreditation. So let me start by introducing myself, Stan Carasosa, President and Superintendent for College of the Sequoias. And again, thank you for giving us a little bit of your time this afternoon. We got the notion about 3 weeks ago to set up these forums, knowing that this was a period of time between now and the traditional spring break, when especially lots of high school students, prospective students, and or their parents, or parents of students who are here, are wondering about the status of College of the Sequoias, in particular looking to next year and wanting to make sure that they're on solid ground in terms of their continued plans to be here at COS. So if I could use the talking points just as a guide to take us through a quick explanation of the status of where we are, I think that might be the most efficient. And then as we get finished with those talking points, I'll also be happy to try and answer any questions that we can for any of you. First of all, I think we've acknowledged from the very beginning that this is a very serious matter. We got the official notification on February 13, 2013, that College of the Sequoias received from the ACCJC an order of what's called show cause. And the words show cause come from a phrase in the law, in the legislation, that says, you must now as an institution show us cause why we should allow you to continue to be an accredited institution and remain open for business. That's pretty serious. So we're not here to discount the seriousness of it. What we are here to share with you is when the accrediting team came, and when we had an opportunity to talk with the commission, they don't have concerns about the major overall results produced by College of the Sequoias. For example, we have a long tradition of very strong academic program. We have an award-winning nursing program. We have an outstanding police academy. We have a nationally recognized architecture division. We've got strong career technical education programs. So in a number of areas, we perform very, very well. And the students who leave College of the Sequoias, when we track their results and data, and they move on to either work or higher education, they perform well with the foundation and the basis of education that they received here at COS. What the Accrediting Commission did find, however, is that there are a few structural parts of our institution that need to be much stronger. And if you think about the Commission's role to come in and review and evaluate a program at an institution for its structural integrity, is this going to be a viable institution to deliver consistent quality outcomes for the taxpayers who support it over time? That's really where they came to find us in need of some areas of improvement. The first area where we were provided recommendations came under the ACCJC standard number 1, which has to do with institutional efficiency and effectiveness. And in that key area, it's what I've been talking about. They asked us to make sure that we build strong procedures, systems, and protocols to show how our participatory governance structures and our institutional planning and the evaluation of that planning and our programs align with the shared decision-making or the participatory decision-making that occurs and how resources are allocated in the institution. So they're asking, the structures we have are in place, but there wasn't strong enough clear connections between them. So in order to inform an outsider to our institution, how does the academic senate interact with the college council, who then interacts with the dean's council or the senior management? How do those interconnected pieces work in the decision-making process? And how does the planning happen in the institution? How does the review of programs occur in the institution? And how does all of that data continually feed new decision-making, a cycle of continuous improvement, and allocation of resources? In those areas, we were found needing improvement. And the second area was under the standard, which has to do with student learning outcomes. And student learning outcomes are simply put, they're the things that, in a content area, they're the things that students should know and be able to do in order to successfully complete a course. At the end of a course, an instructor should have predetermined what the expected outcomes are for the students to know and be able to do. They're expected to build an assessment, a test of those outcomes. They're expected to give that assessment and then spend some time talking about, reflecting on, collaborating around those results so that it can inform their teaching, that it can improve their craft, it can change the content and revise their methods, because you're constantly wanting to improve your levels of student achievement, student performance in your courses. At an institutional level, there's bigger outcomes than just what the outcomes are for a class. For the institution, there's larger service area outcomes. Is it a goal for College of the Sequoias to increase the percentage of students every year who successfully complete their associate arts degree? If that's what they came here to do, what's our percentage of students who complete their associate arts degree, and how can we improve on that percentage? If they came here to matriculate, what's the percentage of students who successfully matriculate from here to a four-year college, and what can we do to improve those outcomes? If they came here to earn certification for employment, did they complete their certification program? Did they earn their certificate? Or were they placed in a job? So as we track those bigger outcomes, we also have to pay attention to putting structures in place that can help us monitor those. So that was the second area, student learning outcomes. The first area had to do with institutional efficiency and organization. The second area had to do with student learning outcomes, both in courses and bigger service area outcomes. From those two areas, we got a combined total of 5 recommendations. So it wasn't as though we were deficient across the gamut of institutional criteria. It was in those 2 areas. So I asked the question when we were talking to the director of the commission, why such a serious sanction for 2 areas that in and of themselves don't seem to rise to the level of a show cause order? And her response to me was that it was the persistence of these 2 areas that had occurred over the scope of your last full accreditation cycle. So in 2006, when we went through accreditation, we actually had the 5 same areas come up as areas of recommendation. And in fact, in 2006, we were put on warning for those areas, which means you have to show progress and you have to get those complete. They held us accountable for 3 years in a row, 2007, 8, and 9, and we submitted reports each of those 3 years. So when the commission looked at our midterm report in 2009, they assumed that they would come back in 2012, this last fall, and we would be complete. And they found that we weren't. So it was that lagging behind, that inability to get that work complete, that ended up landing us in this level of response and sanction. So while it is very serious, and while it's important to the long-term structural integrity of our institution, I do want to assure you that our faculty has rolled up their sleeves. Again, staff, administration, every aspect of the campus is positively involved in getting the work done now to make sure that we remain a fully accredited institution and to meet the full scope of compliance in the time that we have in front of us. There's a couple of things to keep in mind. One, when Dr. Bino, the director for the Accrediting Commission, called to give us the news, she said, I need to tell you that you need to have your report submitted in October of 2013. So we give you 1 year from the last regularly scheduled accreditation visit to get these things corrected. And of course, we were getting the phone call in February. So February was already removed from October. And I said, well, it doesn't feel like a whole year if you're going to be back in October, but we're getting the news in February. And then I said, if I calculate correctly, I think there's a couple months coming up that are going to be summer, and we're not going to have a lot of active faculty around all summer. So really, there's a big chunk of work we have to get done between now and June. So I asked her, how much progress do we need to show as an institution when we submit this report in October and you come back in November? How far along do we need to be in being fully compliant in order to get more time, to get a reprieve, to be able to remain accredited? And she said, well, I don't mean to frighten you, and I don't want to put you on the spot. You have to be fully compliant. And she said, if you look at it from our perspective, Stan, we sat back and the commission had to reflect on the fact that you were put on warning for these same 5 areas 6 years ago. And you've had 6 years to address these issues, and you've made some progress, but you haven't made enough. So, we have taken a number of steps. Let me tell you what those are very quickly. We did immediately get together, the senior management team. We tried to be very selective and pick accreditation response task force, a team of about 40 people who have come together now and are the steering committee, if you will, for this response process. These 40 people meet every week, every Thursday. And in between those weekly meetings of this bigger body, the 40 people have been divided up into 5 smaller groups, and each of those 5 smaller groups, subgroups, are now in charge of building the research, the response, the study, and the actions necessary to respond to one each of those 5 different accreditation findings. So we've tried to match people up with their areas of expertise. We have faculty working on faculty-related issues. We have some classified staff helping us on classified service-related issues. We have administrators working in both of those committee capacities. So in between those weekly meetings of the task force, there's another subgroup meeting, at least one, going on every week. We've asked all of those committees to build a timeline to show us what you hope to accomplish between now and June so we can stay on track and on top of the completion process. We've asked them to identify any resources that they need. We've asked them to bring forward any support that they might need, upgrades in software, additional materials, anything that we might need, short of hiring lots of new staff to be able to respond to these accreditation responses. We've most recently secured the support of 2 outside consultants. We hire them on an hourly basis, so they're not making a big, large fee no matter what they do for us. They're coming in and they're only being paid hourly for the hours that they legitimately work with us. The first consultant is Dr. Eva Conrad. She's a retired community college faculty member and community college president. She's most recently been working with a group called the College Brain Trust, and they actually go in and they help colleges prepare for and/or, like in our case, respond to accreditation standards and reports. She most recently was able to work with Cuesta Community College, which last year was in the same situation we're in, and this January they just got off of their show cause order. So Dr. Conrad was here with us 2 days last week. She'll be here 2 days with us this week. She's helping us on those big issues of organizational planning, evaluation, program evaluation, and participatory decision-making. Additionally, we've secured the services of Dr. help me, Jennifer.
Pacheco.
Dr. Pacheco, who is helping us with the student learning outcomes. And he is currently a research director for his community college, but an expert in the area of student and service learning outcomes and how to build a system to be able to not only implement the outcomes, but implement the assessments and review the data and give faculty meaningful ways to look at the results on an annual or semi-annual basis and be able to use those positively in informing their instruction and their program goals and objectives. So Bob Pacheco will be working with us. He's had 2 meetings now with our subgroup who's working on the student learning outcomes, and he will be working with us on an as-needed basis. So the 2 of them have helped us in the areas where they both have expertise in the 2 key areas that we have our recommendations. And it's been nice to know that they're verifying a lot of what we're already doing, but they're also providing us invaluable experience in areas that we aren't quite as experienced as they are, and they're helping us to make sure we don't miss anything. And so we're very confident and very comfortable with the working relationship we have with them so far. We're going to our College of the Sequoias Board of Trustees every month at their regularly scheduled meetings with a standing public update on the accreditation response, task force work, and the status of accreditation on a monthly basis. We're also printing a weekly summary of the accreditation response task force meetings. So on the information sheet, you'll also see the link for our webpage. And what we encourage you to do is go to the COS website, click on the accreditation. If you're concerned about tracking our progress and watching us closely, bookmark that as one of your favorites and open it up once a week and you will find ongoing updated information. We're posting the agendas to our task force meetings and the minutes from those meetings so you can see who's doing what every step of the way. We have the committee members' names there, the meeting times there. We're also posting the subgroup meeting agendas and some of their notes so you can see what the 5 individual subgroups are doing and what they're working on. And then the last piece I'll share with you is we formed an Accreditation Community Advisory Committee. One of the things in the accreditation letter we received is we have to meet a public disclosure reporting requirement. So we have to make our information as open and transparent as possible, and we have to work hard to reach out and engage the community in as strong a way as possible. So we reached out to our 3 major cities, our cities that have campuses on them, Hanford, Visalia, Tulare, and we solicited and invited interested community members to come in and sit on an advisory task force. These community members represent parents, they represent businesses, they represent city government, other private institutions, public institutions. We have about 25 on the list. We have about 12 to 15 who are meeting regularly every time we get together. We're meeting every 2 weeks with that group, and we're keeping them apprised of the work that our task force is doing. We're also educating them, and we're giving them regular information so that they can go out and be ambassadors in the community. They can speak at their service clubs, they can update their cities and their communities, they can talk to their friends and neighbors, they can let folks know whether they're at church or whether at their local service club, what the status is for COS. They've also volunteered to be a community voice for us. They're writing letters to the editor. They're reporting on the experience they're having as community members. They're writing guest commentaries so that they're sharing from a community member's point of view. Here's the work that we're doing. They have an open pass to every meeting that we have. They can come and park on campus anytime they want to go into any one of those task force meetings or subgroup meetings as a community member to make sure that we're on top of things. We wanted them to not only feel included, but we wanted them to feel like we value the fact that they're our community oversight. And when the accreditation team comes in November, we want that whole group of community advisors to be able to come in and say, we had open access. We could see everything that was going on throughout this process, and here's how we contributed as a community. So I think we have a good plan in place. We've also been going out and meeting with every high school faculty in our feeder area. So I think we have 9 high schools that feed into College of the Sequoias within our district. There's about 15 if you count our alternative schools, continuations, and charters. A senior management member or myself have been going out personally to meet with the teachers and the counselors. We're taking them this same information. We're sharing with them what we're sharing with you today because we know that our high school seniors in particular spend a lot of time with their teachers and they build relationships with their AP teacher or their newspaper advisor or their head coach. And that's the person often that a high school senior is going to go to and ask their teacher or their advisor what they think about the situation and should I go to COS. So we want to give everybody that reassurance that the college is in a serious situation but responding very, very favorably. We have every intention of remaining a fully accredited institution. And while it's a serious matter, we're really, really confident that we're on the right track. We believe that we will be a stronger organization for having gone through this change. We believe that we'll have systems better than anybody by the time we're done. And we think that those outstanding results that we produce at the end of our system are going to be matched by really high-quality interior structures that will make sure that COS serves our region for a long time to come. So that was the kind of planned set of bullet points that I had to cover for all of you. I would love to answer any particular questions you might have about students, incoming students, students who are returning, anything of that sort that we can answer for you. Yes, ma'am.
Now, if something happens and you guys do lose your accreditation, the time in school, how is that going to affect her for attending here to transfer somewhere?
Well, we don't like to talk about
I
worst
know
case
you
scenario, but it's a fair question, and we have a responsibility to answer that for you. If, you heard a little bit of the timeline, we're fully accredited now, we will remain accredited. Everything about our current status is seamless for students right now. Their credits are all transferable, their degrees are valid, their transcripts are valid, their financial aid eligibility is in place. Everything's seamless for students right now. If a college, not COS, if a college went through this process and at the end of the reporting period, say in October, got a visit back in November, and then the commission was to review their visit in January and say, the college didn't make enough progress, we're going to revoke your accreditation. Even in that situation, the students would have the remainder of that spring semester to be valid and currently enrolled in their college. One of the unfortunate things that we have to do in this process is alongside our accreditation response report, which shows how we're going to respond to all of these findings, we also simultaneously have to complete our closure report. So it's kind of this plan, what if your college doesn't make it? How would you dissolve your assets? How would you make sure that all student transcripts got forwarded on? How would you remain accessible to students for the following semester? You know, we kind of liken it to we're writing our success plan over here and our obituary over here. We haven't focused on that one a lot, but we did. It's a fair question, and we do want to assure students that in a worst case scenario, you would be fully accredited throughout this spring semester. Other questions or comments? Hi, Gene.
Hi. Stan, it seems like you thought of everything. I mean, I've been listening critically, and I can't think of a single thing. You're a lot like the new coach on the football team. That's the way I see it. You're trying to get stronger at every position, and you called in these free agents, and you're developing a plan, you're communicating with the public, and so forth. I wonder if you've ever solicited anecdotal stories from successful students, people who've gotten a job, say, in the nursing area or law enforcement, or students who transferred, like I did to the university years ago, success stories, or perhaps letters of testimonial evidence for people who have hired these people or who have accepted as successful students going through, and to build a kind of a case so that if the college would ever be decertified, it would be a giant guilt trip to lay on the critics.
You know, I really appreciate that thought, Gene, and probably, I know Brent served as the facilitator for our Community Advisory Committee meeting just this past Friday morning. And what I'd like to do, with your permission, is to take that suggestion to the CAC, our next meeting, because I think if our Community Advisory Committee right now could take the lead on something like that, where they could put the feelers out to either prospective employers who have hired our folks, or some of our College of the Sequoias alumni who are in our community now, are out in the field that we know are successful, and build that file of 4 or 5 letters like that, Gene, I think that would be fabulous information to include in our accredited report. I like that suggestion, don't you think, Brent?
Yeah.
It's a good one.
And you plan to nag these people with minutes of their meetings and so forth, and keep dripping on them so they see that
yes.
they're paying attention?
Yes. Everybody who's on every committee gets a copy of everything. So it's a lot of information right now. What we've all done is we've set up these email files down the margin on our screen, and one of them says Response Task Force, and one says subgroups, and one says Community Advisory, and we're dropping that communication in there because it's coming weekly. And I know you had even expressed an interest in the accreditation Community Advisory Committee, we would still love for you to be a part of that, Gene, and if you want us to get you on that mailing list for the next 2 weeks from last Friday, it'd be great to have you there. Maybe even share this idea with that group and see if you could get some folks to help you. There's some great people on there.
Well, you said you wanted to fill slots from outlying communities. I'd be happy to serve.
Well, we would love to have you, so I'm going to go ahead and take license to put you on our email list and get you invited 2 weeks out. Okay?
On this procedure, systems, and protocols, is there a situation where what's that look like in the eyes of this committee that's going to watch, where they want to see professors meeting together, as in what we do in high school level PLC, where they're collaborating, sharing data based on the results of tests and whatnot, and developing instruction from there? It sounds like it's there, it's not really documented to the satisfaction of it.
Well, the structures are there, Bob, but if we were to be perfectly honest, we're not fully meeting the spirit of the intended criteria. And that means, I would say probably 90+% of our courses have the student learning outcomes written and submitted into one of our 2 software databases. And we're getting that merged now, so it'll all be in one place. So it's one thing, because we have about 846 classes, active courses at colleges and Sequoias. It's one thing to have the student learning outcomes written down and ready to go. You've also got to have them on the syllabi, you've got to have them on the web page, so when the student registers for a class, they can look right there and see what the SLOs are. We don't have everything that tightly coupled yet, so we're going to get that taken care of. Then when you go to the next piece, which is you got to have your assessment done. We've got, I don't know, 50% of the classes maybe that have the assessments already written for them, maybe more than 50% that have the assessments already written. But then when you go to the third phase, it's even a smaller percentage that are actually giving the assessment and doing the reflection afterwards. So we've got to get that to be more fully compliant. More people, everybody finish your assessments, and everybody start participating in the reflective work that follows. And the way that would look, I think when they come, because they're not going to believe, when you get yourself in this situation in an accreditation, they're not going to believe anything we show them in a glossy report. They're going to come and want to see it happen. What's it look like? So what it's going to look like is it's going to look like, I think, some records maybe of either individual faculty members at our level. What they do, Bob, is they do a self-evaluation. So as I do my annual self-evaluation or my semi-annual self-evaluation, I might be documenting right there the personal time that I've spent giving my assessments, retrieving all of my results, and looking at how I'm using that as continuous improvement. So some evidence like that. Another piece might be a division meeting or a department meeting where it's on the agenda, and those faculty who want to participate in a collaborative effort to take, let's say there's 10 of us who teach English 251. If we want to stay around now, sit down, and talk about what our personal reflection looks like, there's going to be time on an agenda to show that faculty committed to doing that. And then on the largest scale, probably institutionally, we would have like our staff development days. Here we call them flex days. But when we have flex days and we have a schedule set out where faculty are given blocks of time to do this kind of assessment collaboration on their SLOs, that's evidence to the commission that it's being put into place. What they'll likely see, though, is they'll see the spring semester, this semester, where we're going to be able to do a little bit of that and we don't have everything in order. And then they'll see our plans to get it all done for the fall semester, but when they come in the fall semester, we won't be complete yet. So I have a feeling the best we can probably hope for is to get an extended period of time after our January accreditation to be able to finish that semester and show them that we completed that loop. And then I think we're going to get a very favorable response.
How long is that visit in November?
They come for a week.
For a week.
So there may be some time that we're visiting there, but it isn't the time of the year where you would give your assessment at the end of the year, because that won't happen until December. So I think just because of the pattern of classes and the way the semesters fall, it's going to take them a little more time to see it all implemented, but we should show them how it all plans to be implemented with the timelines for it and when it's going to happen. And then they give us enough time to make sure it happens, and I think we'll be fine. Yes, sir.
I'd like to put a positive spin on this. You're not rescuing a failing enterprise. You're re-engineering an important local institution. And I think that's the right stand for the public to feel.
That's right. That's part of what we tried to share in our guest commentary last Friday, Gene. I don't know if you got a chance to see that, but we talked about this being an opportunity for us to refine and improve and be better than we've been before, because we've been a good institution. We have the opportunity now to be really great.
That was in the paper, or where was that before?
Yeah, the Times Delta did a commentary for us. I know you don't get the Times Delta, but I don't either. That's a great approach, though. Anything else for the good of the order today? Ladies, I noticed that you came in late. Did we answer all your questions? Okay. Well, I want to thank our student services folks and Bethany Mathis and her group. And the idea of getting these forums set up came right out of our outreach office that said, hey, we think we need to do a little bit more to make sure that parents and students have an opportunity to come in and get information. And we know how these settings go. Sometimes you get 2 people, sometimes you get 200. The point is, we're here to share. It doesn't matter how many. We're glad that you were here. We hope it was helpful. We encourage you to visit our website regularly. And we have another forum tomorrow in Tulare, and we have one on Wednesday in Hanford. And then we think between that and our visits to the high schools and the information we're giving our students, that everybody's nerves are finally getting calmed now, and enrollment's looking like it does every year, and I think everybody's settled back into a good, healthy pattern of participation for College of the Sequoias. We're just going to finish the hard work now to make you all very proud of us. Okay? We're adjourned.